The Gemara in Yoma tells us that in the moment that our enemies entered the Heichal during the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, they saw the Kruvim, the angelic structures on top of the Aron, were hugging one another. And many ask the question that the Gemara elsewhere in Bava Basra tells us that the manner in which the Kruvim related to one another represented the status of our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in that time, and that at times the Kruvim faced one another, those were the good times, and then other times the Kruvim faced away from one another, and those represented the difficult times. And was there a more difficult time than the Churban itself, than the times of the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash? And yet, our enemies recognized the two Kruvim were hugging one another. So how can that possibly be representative accurately of our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in that moment? And there are several answers given to that question, but the Bnei Yissaschar gives a beautiful idea, and he says that, in the walks of life, people are busy, we have jobs, we have responsibilities. You walk into a home, parents, spouses, children, you don't always automatically recognize the love. It's not always exhibited in the most extreme fashion on a day-to-day basis. Not that that's the way it should be, but that's just the way it is. People don't always go out of their way to express their love for those who they do truly care about. It's specifically at a moment when there's separation. If you ever see parents dropping their kids off at the airport for a year in Israel, honestly, even parents dropping their kids off at the bus stop for 4 weeks in a summer camp, the hugs and the tears are flowing. The hugs, the embraces are strong, the tears are many. And in that moment, when you know there's going to be a separation, that's when you hug your child, that's when you hug your parent in a way that you wouldn't normally do on a regular Monday after school, because you recognize that there's going to be a long separation and you do love them so much and you want to make sure that they know that. So says the Bnei Yissaschar, this was the embrace that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was giving us, Klal Yisrael, just moments before a long and dark and bitter galus. He wanted to let us know that yes, you're going away for a while, longer than a summer camp, longer than a year in yeshiva or seminary. There's going to be a separation, but I love you in the way that any parent would hug their child, in the way sending them off to a foreign country, sending them off to be abroad, to make sure that they know that I'm always going to be with you. Even if we are physically separated, this hug, this moment of intimacy should help you remember that you're never going to be alone. And that was what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was expressing to us through the hugging of the Kruvim in that very bitter and difficult moment of the Churban, before we set out on this long and dark galus, to understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was always with us. And that hug is meant to remind us of the everlasting love and relationship that we have with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the same way a parent has with their child.